No, you're not dreaming, bruv. We are really back. We're really live and direct. This is The Dose. My name's T. I'm the owner of Yak, and I'm here with my mentor, Tony.
Hey, what's good, y'all? This is the wonderful Tony, and there's two things that don't exist in this world. That's the tiniest person that don't like rock, and a bitch I can't have.
You dig. And the connection throughout this call might be kind of weird, but I mean, at least you're getting your dose of game as opposed to nothing, right? It's been, I don't even know how long, but I don't mind. We're here now, and as the wise man once said, better late than never. So, on this episode of The Dose, all we're going to be speaking about is the questions from the Telegram. And you can join the Telegram, it's free, as we kick in some game in there. But this brother asked, how to repent from ever doubting myself, accepting bad behavior from others, and not standing up for myself. So that's a lot to unpack. And the beauty of The Dose is that you have two different perspectives. You have my perspective, you have Tony's perspectives. And with these two perspectives, the two schools of thought and the two different philosophies, what you'll begin to understand is that there's a similarity between the two. There's certain kind of principles that are the same. So we're going to break this down for you, and then we'll see how it goes from there. So Tony, what do you think?
All right, I'll drop it first. So, what I really want to address is this dude had the foresight, I guess you could say, to use the word repent. He said, how do you repent from doing it? So let's break down what repent is. When you repent, it means you're committing a sin. You're committing an act against God, essentially an unrighteous act. Now, the proper means of repent, as some of us may know, some of us don't know, is to apologize for doing it and then to seek your new path of not doing that anymore. It's like if you get drunk and beat your wife, you can't just repent to God and say, God, I'm sorry, I repent, and then go home and get drunk again and beat your wife. You got to say, I'm done doing this shit. I'm changing. That's what a repent is. A repent is to change the behavior. So a guy like this in a situation like this, I can already tell, and I'm telling you right now, I can already tell where he's at and what kind of habits he has by this type of perspective. And this will all become clear in just a second. If you're a motherfucker who's on your, as a matter of fact, if you're a motherfucker who's really on his path, who's really handling his business, I got a question for you, T. When you make a mistake, how long do you dwell on that shit? We all make mistakes. When you fuck up and you do a little side step, fall off your path just a little bit, how long do you dwell on that?
0.1 seconds. Charge to the gang and keep it pushing.
Right. Am I right? I'm assuming, now I'm not going to put no words in your mouth, but I'm assuming you just, damn, I kind of fucked up right there. Let me blow this little ant off the table and then keep it moving, right?
Easy.
That's about as far as it goes. I made a mistake. I'm going to fix that, or I'm going to have to work on that. Damn. And I usually forget I even made the fucking mistake. I don't dwell on it. And that's because I'm so in my zone, I'm so in my mode that I'm able to stay focused on what's going right. Now, with this guy right here, how do I repent from the mistakes? Well, now we know he's just a living, walking excuse. He's constantly fucking up. He's constantly doing shit that he knows he's not supposed to do. That's why he feels so salty about it. That's why he feels so hurt about it. That's why he feels so repentful and regretful about it, because his whole life is mistakes and excuses. And damn, I should have did that. Damn, I should have did this. He don't ever do what his gut tells him. He don't ever follow through with what he says he's going to do. And you can tell that just by this question. This is why they say a wise man can learn more from a foolish question than a fool can learn from a wise answer. I hope the individual who asked this question hear this and realize I can actually see I didn't even get asked the question. You got asked the question through a screen and then asked me through a phone, and I can tell that this motherfucker is full of excuses. The subconscious tell of where his mind is at shows he's constantly living excuses, constantly living mistakes. He's not fixing these mistakes. If he made mistakes and then he fixed them and then he made new mistakes, then he would say, damn, the life just keeps getting harder. Things just keep going. I'm learning, I'm growing, but he's making the same mistakes. That's why he's so shook up on repenting about the shit he's doing, because he won't stop doing it. So he's got to realize he's got to change his patterns. He's got to really change instead of wanting to change. In reality, you can sit here and I could tell you what to do, but you're not going to fucking do it unless you decide you're really going to do it. And if you decided you were really going to do it, you wouldn't need me to tell you how to do it. Whatever it is you're fucking up on, just stop doing it. Have the have the integrity, have the self-respect to commit to the changes that you need to make. The other option is to realize and accept you don't want what you think you want as much as you claim to want it. You don't want it as much as you believe that you want it, and you need to accept that and get out the way. Start going easy on yourself. Don't wake up early and hit the gym and tell yourself that you want a good physique. Don't listen to podcasts about making money. Don't want to make those commitments. Just commit to your failure or commit to your success. But don't stand in the middle. Don't stand in the middle and wonder why. You know why. You're fucking up. You're living the mistakes over and over and over, or else you wouldn't be so hard on yourself about the repentance. Because I'm just like T. I don't sit there and dwell on the fuck up. I make a quick mistake and I say, damn, this is a very small thing to a giant. This is a snowball on the snowman, because this is a very small aspect of what. If I make a mistake, I do so many things right. I stick to the script so tightly that when a small mistake does happen, it just, it's water off the whale's back. It ain't shit. If you're sitting here debating on it, that means you really don't have too much big going on. You really don't have too much good going. So the bad shit is the big shit. That's my opinion on it. I'm trying to give some good advice here on how to help this brother. I hope he takes it.
Hopefully. And what I'll say in regards to self-doubt is that I personally think that a lot of people have the wrong relationship or the wrong framework to virtually everything, but particularly self-doubt. But what I'm going to offer is a perspective that's based around sports, because, I've played sports my whole life. I'm still playing football to this day. And the people who I study, the people who I delve into their mindset, are typically those who are in the sporting realm. So self-doubt in and of itself is your mind. If you believe in God, it's God. If you believe in the universe, it's the universe telling you that you're not what you're supposed to be. You're not who you're supposed to be. That's fundamentally what self-doubt is, and it's almost like a hint. You ever played a game and you get like little hints of, okay, maybe you're going the wrong direction, or maybe you need to go up rather than down. Self-doubt is a hint to you to where you have to be cognizant of it, and you have to realize, okay, I'm not who I thought I was. I'm not in the direction which is congruent with where I want to go. So essentially, you have to check yourself. As Tony said in regards to making a mistake and how he responds and how I would respond, we don't care. We just say, okay, we made a mistake. We adjust. We go back to the game plan, and we move on. We don't try to repent and don't try to take over things, because what do you actually gain from that, right? Okay, let's say you're constantly trying to repent over the different self-doubts that you're dealing with. How is that elevating you? How is that improving your life in any way, shape, or form? And I'm going to offer two different perspectives from people I've studied. One of them is from Kobe, where he said, everyone has self-doubt. It's about embracing it. All that means is you are, and at the end of the day, we're all human beings, right? We all, genetically and biologically, we have certain dispositions that we're going to fall in alignment with. So that means that sometimes you are just going to have a sense of self-doubt. But what I want you to think about self-doubt as is like a frequency. And for all the people who are kind of quote-unquote old heads, when it came to a TV frequency or radio frequency, you have to tune certain things. And then once you find the right channel, find the right radio show, whatever it is, then it comes through perfect. So as opposed to being in the frequency of this self-doubt is a bad thing, this self-doubt is something to repent of, go into the frequency of, okay, I'm going to embrace it, but then also I'm going to level up from it. I'm going to use this self-doubt because, again, me personally, I just see everything in the context of energy. Therefore, energy can be transmuted into different things. So as opposed to allowing that self-doubt to eat you up, especially like cancer, as opposed to that becoming your reality, you transmute that into whether it's checking yourself, whether it's being more productive, whether it's shooting more shots. You utilize that to your advantage so that you can actually run the right plans. And then the second perspective I'm going to offer is from John Jones. And what he said is that self-doubt is essentially like butterflies in your stomach. And we're all going in different directions. So it's on you to control the direction that they go in. So again, that you can actually get to where you want to go. Because he spoke about, and I'd recommend all of you to research into the mindset of Glenn Grove, because fascinating guys, regardless. He spoke about that before one fight, he was having dreams and he was having nightmares that he was going to get knocked out and he was going to lose the belt. So what he did was, before he got into the ring, he crouched into a ball and he prayed. And he visualized himself as essentially like a feather man, to where he was unstoppable and he wasn't going to lose the spine. So as opposed to allowing that self-doubt, as opposed to allowing those nightmares to infiltrate who he is and to go on to lose, instead he leveraged it to his advantage and he went on to win, and he's still undefeated to this day.
Dig that. Something I want to critique on, I guess you could say, is I've noticed that you talked about the energy, you talked about the methods that John Jones used, the way that you transfer things, but really what it comes down, in my perspective, I would say that you're basically labeling it as you're taking you're taking control of your thoughts. You're taking ownership of your thoughts. You're not letting outside thoughts
that's the one.
affect you, and you're deciding these thoughts are under my control. I'm not letting these thoughts get a hold of me. I'm getting a hold of these thoughts. You're taking complete ownership and responsibility of your mind and which direction it goes.
That's literally it. It's as opposed to having something control you, as a you're being in control of it, and as a result of being in control of it, you can decide the direction of it. Another analogy I can use is like an old movie real thing, like, the ones to where you have to wind it in and it's picture by picture. If you viewed self-doubt as a thing to where it's like, let's say 5 pictures in a row are full of this self-doubt. If you become cognizant of it, as Tony said, and you're controlling your thought, you can check yourself and you can tell yourself, okay, I'm thinking things that aren't in alignment with where I want to go. So through that, it's almost like you're changing the film. You're putting in a different film, so that rather than that self-doubt permeating, constantly being on show, you're actually going about putting in this new film, and you're, again, changing your thoughts, controlling your thoughts, and elevating your thoughts so that you can just become the man you want to be, essentially.
No, it's true. One of my mentors used to say, if you don't have your thoughts are going to have you.
And that's some heavy, heavy game right there. So the second part, or the second kind of question that you asked, Tony, you're going to go crazy with this, is accepting bad behavior from others. I mean, they go specific into it, but regardless, go do your thing.
Accepting bad behaviors from others is essentially just accepting your place. I've said this before. You can get a guy who was a millionaire, found a girl who was homeless on the street, and within 2 months, that same girl who was homeless on the street now lives in a mansion. She's now married to a millionaire. He's fucking her. There's a certain level of understanding that comes with familiarity. Familiarity can be a dangerous thing because of that. But there's a certain something that comes with familiarity with the woman. Because long before there was millions of dollars, long before there was mansions, there was just man and woman. And it was a woman's place to test the man. It was the woman's place to test the man, which is why we always teach our guys, don't be so shook about the woman's test, because she's really just seeing who you are. It's really your opportunity to prove who you are. So let's go back to this man. You got this man. He was a millionaire. He found this woman. She was homeless on the street. He brings her into the house. Within 2 months, she's testing his nuts. She's talking back. She's not listening because she wants to see how this man is going to react to this bullshit. It's but natural for her to test him because in her mind, those millions don't matter. None of that matters. It matters to him because he thinks it matters, but it doesn't matter to her. He's just a man and she's just a woman, and it's her job to test him. So all the outside circumstances are irrelevant. Now, see, this man, and I used this millionaire perspective for a reason, this man, in many cases, will let this woman walk all over him. Why? Because at the same time, like the millions don't matter to her and she's going to test him, the millions don't matter to him because he's going to bend the knee and deal with her bullshit. That's why there's broke men that don't put up with no bullshit from their women. And that's why there's rich men that do, because the money don't matter either. The money don't matter to you or to her. You either naturally feel like you don't deserve this treatment and stand up to it and shut it down, or you don't. It really just comes down to how you feel about you. And see, there's also guys who feel great about themselves naturally, maybe because their mom was really supportive, maybe because they grew up in a positive environment where they played sports and everybody thought they were popular in high school. And then they meet some broad who's destructive, and then she destroys them. And then they decide to deal with the bullshit. So don't think that just believing in yourself and having a high opinion of yourself is going to stop it either, because at some point you might come across a woman who treats you like dog shit regardless. Now, this isn't just women. This is people in general. Some people are just going to be shit. They're going to treat you like shit, and they're going to test you. Now, it might not even be a test. They might be just a shitty person, but to you, it's a test. To you, it's a test to test your own self-value. So really what it comes down to is, regardless of the money, regardless of the circumstances, regardless of where you were at and where they're at, people are just going to test. And regardless of what your status is and their status, the only thing that really matters is how you feel about you and what you're willing to put up with. Because again, there are people who did feel good about themselves. They didn't have an abuse. They didn't have a neglected dad. We've all seen girls that had a preacher dad and grew up in a good household, and they're pregnant with some gangbanger's child. And now she's doing Percocet. We've all seen these people before. Sometimes people just accept less than they deserve. Some of these people felt great about themselves up to meeting this girl. And then, it started off with her not answering his phone calls on a Friday night. And then the next morning she wakes up at 7, Saturday morning, and she says, "Oh, sorry, I fell asleep." She didn't message him back for 15 hours. What the fuck it was, but he rationalized. He made excuses to himself. You would be surprised how slippery that slope is, because it starts off with, she didn't text you back, on a Friday night, and it ends up, you're living in the house with your wife's boyfriend. As soon as you start making those types of compromises, you're living a compromised lifestyle, which is why you have to be bulletproof with your resolve. You have to be bulletproof when it comes to what you're willing to accept. At no point can you ever accept less than what you feel that you deserve. And every one of you needs to multiply your self-esteem by 10. You need to multiply your self-esteem rapidly, because you're probably already accepting things you think are acceptable. Like you talk about sometimes, that happy wife, happy life shit. That's a recipe for disaster, because they end up being a punk for 10 years and then she leaves anyways, right? You guys need to really step up what you're willing to accept for yourself. More than anything, your circumstances don't matter. All the things that you always thought about don't matter. You're a provider, big fucking deal. The guys that I know that get bullied the most by their wives are the best providers. They're the women who are with high-powered men are the ones that get the greatest thrill by running these men. If you were a part-time cashier at Target and your girl's bullying you, she's not going to get that same thrill from bullying you because she sees you low status in the first place. But if you're the CEO of a major company and your wife used to be, a bartender, and now she's bullying you, and you go and take over companies and then come home and she gets to punk you, that gives her a great amount of power. That gives her a thrill that she gets to bully some great man. So it's even worse for the guys that think that the money is what matters, and they think that the status is what matters. They think the fact that they provide is what matters. It all comes down to what you're willing to put up with and how you feel about yourself. And again, don't get caught up with the idea that because your self-esteem is good now, that you won't fall into the bullshit, because it happens all the time. Guys felt great about themselves, then they run into the wrong girl, and they compromise one time, and boom, before you know it, they're accepting shit behavior they don't deserve.
No,
And that's all we got.
that was heavy. And just to kind of expand on that or offer a different perspective?
Change instead of wanting to change. You know, in reality,
Let's say you have person A or person B. Person A thinks highly of themselves. They think they deserve certain things. They move in a certain manner. People are always going to treat person A in a certain regard because they see who he is in everything that he does. Whether it's the way that he moves, whether it's the way that he talks, whether it's his body language, whether it's his tonality, whether it's the conviction which he speaks with. All of these things people are sizing up from the minute they see you. So through that, what they do is just mirror that back to you. So person A, they'll never have a person coming them sideways. They'll never have a person try to do all these kind of nitty stuff. Okay, don't confuse this with being tested. You're always going to be tested. But there's a difference between being tested and being disrespected. One of them is a test to see if you are who you say you are. Disrespected is just a blatant disregard for who you are. And people aren't ever going to disrespect person A. But let's think of person B. They think lowly of themselves. They're the type to where they're slouching, they're always looking at the ground, can't make eye contact, etc. All these kind of things, it feeds into their perception of themselves, and as a result, the perception that they give off to others. And that's why they're always treated in a certain way. They're always treated like they're the bottom of the earth, like they're literally scum, because really and truly, that's how they actually think about themselves. And fundamentally, you can't outperform your self-image. I said this in a Q&A last week, and it's something that I've always been speaking about on Yak, because I've always said that if you think you're a king, then everything that you do is going to be alignment with that. If you think you're a peasant, everything else is going to be in alignment with that. But then the byproduct of that is that, let's say if you think you're a peasant, but you win the lottery, you, again, kind of similar to what Tony was speaking about, you get 100 million in your bank account. Cool. People are still going to treat you the same. The money don't matter. The fact that you have a Ferrari don't matter. The fact that you dripped out in Gucci don't matter, because you can't outperform your self-image. Or really and truly, what's going to happen is that you're going to start self-sabotaging. As opposed to, let's say if you have this 100 million, as opposed to moving like a 9-figure guy, you're just going to be a peasant with money in your bank account. So people are just going to be like, well, regardless of the money, really, truly, people try to start finessing you, start getting money out of you, start playing you, because they can see that you don't actually have any self-belief, you don't have any self-respect, but more importantly, you don't have a firm foundation which you're going to stand upon. So that's why they treat you in a certain way. So that's why you're willing and don't really care about how people treat you, because you don't actually care about how you treat yourself. When you walk past a mirror, you don't look in the mirror and say, I'm that guy. You just look past it. You might just go straight past it. You might look at yourself in disgust, and then that's that. And in regards to looking at yourself in disgust, it's actually a healthy thing. Because I believe that the greatest things, the greatest change in your life happen when you're in a state of disgust. When you look at yourself in the mirror, you're just like, what is this? Like, how has my life transpired into this? And those are the moments to where essentially it's a fat reality check. You're either going to leverage that moment in your life to where I'm no longer going to accept this version of who I am, this iteration of who I am. I'm going to get my stuff together. I'm going to get my ducks in a row. Or is going to kind of not really care and just stay down the path of mediocrity and just being treated like a punching bag by everyone. So really and truly, it's just how bad do you want to go about changing your life? But how bad don't really matter. It's more about what are you willing to do to change it. As Tony said, like some people, they want to change. Some people, like they need to change essentially. So you have to ask yourself, which one are you? But more importantly, how are you actually going to go about implementing it? Because anyone can talk. Few people can actually speak on. Few people can actually take the actions that will go about elevating their life.
it's true. And then you get the guys, that see that moment of disgust, and then they stay in that disgust, they stay in that filth. And that's like the guy that asked that question about how to repent from the behavior. And then you get the guys like you were saying, you know, you have that moment of disgust and you change. And we've all had those moments of disgust. We've all had those moments where we're like, damn, what am I doing? Damn, what was I thinking? Damn, I got to never do that again. I've had moments where I'm like, I'm never going to do that again. I shouldn't have done that. You know, we all have those moments. Anybody that says they don't, they're lying. But regardless, you know,
Real.
how long you sit in that filth is how you're going to feel about it. It's like being a baby in a diaper, you know? Yeah, we all shit. So I don't have to sit in this fit. But at the end of the day, if mom comes and cleans it up, it's like, hey, you know, we all shit. But if you're just sitting there in that diaper walking around, you know, the baby's walking around with shit in the diaper, you're going to look at that parent like, what's wrong with you? But you don't see that kid put the shit in there and fix it. You know, I'm going to fucking change the baby if you don't do this. It's the same concept. You're either going to sit around and sit in that filth, or you're going to recognize it right away and fix it. And no one's even going to hold you to a fault you did once. You know, you make a mistake very rarely. You have that moment of just disgust. You stop, you fix it. People forgive much more than people realize. But most people don't really live a life where they change their behavior around and then rebuild themselves enough. We don't see that enough to realize that people do forgive. Because look at fucking Martha Stewart. That bitch went to prison for 4 years. You know, we don't talk about that when we talk about Martha Stewart. We talk about her delicious cupcakes and how she can clean a fucking house, you know, because she made a mistake. She got back out. She went right back to her path, and she went right back to how everybody knows her. Most people don't do that. They stay in the filth, and that's why we don't talk enough about how people get those redemption stories. But people do. People get forgiven all the time. People get redeemed all the time. Most people just don't do it. So it's important to remember that too.
It's very much a self-loathing thing, to where it's like people, they like want, it's a victim mindset essentially. People want to be coddled, be felt like, oh, okay, it's okay that you're all the way you are. It's okay that you made this mistake, as opposed to actually wanting to change from it. Like, as you use the example, like, she made a mistake. She was in prison for 4 years, but she went about changing her life and creating a different perception of it. And that's how she remembered. So I don't really think people realize just the importance that perception is reality. Like, you can literally go about changing the perception of who you are today. You can listen to this podcast, and for some people, listen to this podcast and just kind of brush it off. Some of them have already clicked off and just like not take anything from it. But for some of you, you're after this podcast, what you're going to do is you're going to go to a mirror. You're going to look at yourself deep in your own eyes, and you're going to check yourself. You're going to be like, what am I actually doing? Did my parents really birth me? Did my mom really go through 9 months of damn near torture for me to live this life, for me to treat myself in this manner, for me to be okay with a woman treating me like I'm literally a peasant? Like, this is really my reality. And I pray that for those of you who do that, I pray that you actually go about creating a game plan, and you go about whatever you need to do to get out of your rut. I pray that you do that. I've always said to get out of a rut, or to essentially like improve your self-image, just about shooting so many shots that something eventually hits, and then that's how you build your identity. Like, it's like with the Martha Stewart example. She could have been in prison for 4 years and just gone down the self-pity route and come out of the world, or come out of prison and just kind of amounted to nothing. But she would rather go down in history for something. She would rather be that person to where they got a redemption story. They got something that they can speak on. They got something that they can be proud of, rather than, okay, I've been in prison 4 years, I made this mistake, and I'm just going to just sit in this depressive state and just stay where I am. The game is always about elevation, regardless of what you're speaking about, whether it's with a woman or with yourself. And I mean, the more I kind of live life, the more I realize some people just want it and some people just don't. And really and truly, there's nothing I can do, there's nothing Tony can do, there's nothing God can do for you to want more out of your life. Something that you have to actually want for yourself and then go about changing it.
That was clean what you said about the game is about elevation. What I want to know is, how does Martha Stewart know that and some of these dudes don't? How you letting Martha Stewart have more game than you? Ask yourself that. How you let your mom give birth to you? Martha Stewart got more game than you. Man, you guys should be ashamed of yourself. Just remember this. Martha Stewart's obituary ain't gonna mention her in prison. When she dies and she gets remembered, she's gonna be remembered for her empire. She's gonna be remembered for her legacy. They ain't even gonna say anything about her going to prison on her obituary. It's gonna talk about all the great shit she did. So the more great shit you do when you do make a mistake, there's gonna be great shit to reflect upon. You know, a lot of the great people in history have made a lot of mistakes. They made a ton of mistakes. They made worse mistakes than the average person, but they also did a lot to be remembered by. So there you go.
So this is a whole bunch of heavy game that we just dropped on you. This is what we call a shotgun game. It's a quick, wow, hello. But at the same time, as I said, if you actually go about applying the stuff that we spoke about, the levels that you're going to achieve, different level, bruv. Different level. But anyways, Tony, you got anything you want to plug?
No, you know, I got some books coming out and everything like that, but we'll go ahead and announce them when they get out. You guys, there's another episode coming up. This is just the first half of episode 10. We got something big in store for you in the next half. With all that, you guys be blessed. This is Tony from the Gamed Up Mindset. Spelled just how it sounds on Instagram. I got links in the bio. You can buy my books. You can get into my school. I know T's got an incredible program to plug in too.
I've got the Syndicate. And if you don't know about the Syndicate, it's my private brotherhood/network where we used to be speaking on anything and everything. We have a sales room, a boxing room, a crypto room, social media, game. Tony's got a room in there. We'll be doing our thing. But if you want to join my room, the Syndicate, if you want to join Tony's, hit us up. We can even throw in, maybe possibly if you're lucky, throw in a little discount, a little something if you join both of us. But
yeah, if you made it this far, you deserve a little drop in the price if you actually listen to this shit. Just maybe, I think.
Let's say if you listen to this part and you want to join both of us, use the word shotgun. Just DM us, one of us saying shotgun. All that lets us know is that you've got this far and you're ready to take your game to a different level. You're ready to invest in yourself, to join both of our programs and just in the lead, the content that we have inside, the game that we have inside. We should be charging 10x what we're currently charging. We're keeping it 100. But that's just my opinion. And to be honest, some of the people in the different groups say the same. But yeah, this is part 1 of episode 10. Part 2, we're coming back. We're coming heavy. We're going to keep spitting that game. You dig?
Yeah, dude. All right, y'all stay blessed. I'm out.